He's either incompetent or he's a liar. Neither one of those is acceptable when doing business. You have to demand, you don't ask, you demand, congratulations, you are now servicing that debt every month. You will hate your life. Hey guys, Mark Klinkoff here, and I've compiled a list of questions that ought to be asking every wholesaler on every single deal that you're trying to take down via subject to creative financing. So this is a list of questions that I have personally compiled and I use during the interview process. Feel free to switch it up. Feel free to add some stuff, take some stuff out. I just want to share my personal and professional experience when dealing with wholesalers. These 10 questions are at the very least those that I would ask on every single deal. So let's get into it. The first question is, why is the seller selling? Now, it might sound kind of naive to you. Why would you ask that? You think anybody's going to tell you? You'd be surprised how much information you get, especially from a decent wholesaler, as to why the seller is selling. I've had multiple instances where I found out that the tenant was problematic, wasn't paying on time. I found out that the owner is actually an investor who's got something going on in their life and they're liquidating their whole portfolio. Anyway, you're gonna get some information, so go fishing, get that information, ask them, flat out, point blank, why is the seller selling? The second thing that I ask for, that I request, is the mortgage statement. I think you guys understand why. You're also going to get a wealth of information. You're going to see principal balance. You want to confirm that the APR on the deal is fixed. Some mortgage statements will show you the escrow, the taxes. You want to get as much information as possible. You got to get a recent mortgage statement. So the third question that I ask is, what's the condition? Do you have a recent inspection? Again, take notes. Ask this question. And look, I'm sorry to say this, but most wholesalers will lie. Most wholesalers will not tell you everything. Look, their job is to dispose the deal, to get rid of it, right? There's only two parts to wholesaling. That's acquisition, disposition. That's it. So once they have a deal in their books, they're trying to get rid of it. They're going to paint a really nice and rosy picture. You're the guy that has to do the digging, get the truth. So ask about the condition of the property. This is going to help you to underwrite the deal so that you understand the scope of work that needs to be done, how much money needs to be invested to fix the place up if need be at all. All right. A recent inspection is absolute gold. If they have an inspection that's been done, I don't know, in the last month, 2, maybe 3 months, whatever it is, even if it's half a year old, get it. Very important. That's going to paint a really clear picture as far as what's wrong with the property, maybe why they're really selling it. Maybe it's in a flood zone. Who knows? Maybe the foundation is cracked, the roof is leaking. If they have a recent inspection, get it. The fourth question is an appraisal. Do you guys have a current appraisal? Most of them will not. And usually if a wholesaler has a recent inspection or recent appraisal, this is all pure gold. This is going to save you time, money. It's going to paint a really crystal clear picture of what you're getting into. So go ahead and ask, do you have a recent appraisal? Look, an inspection is something you can have done. It's fairly cheap. You can't do an inspection on every sub-2 deal that comes across your desk because there's dozens of them every day that come up. But on a property you really like, if they don't have an inspection, you can have one done fairly cheap. On an SFR, single family residence, anywhere from $200 to $500, and probably have it done fairly quickly depending on the market that you're in. Fifth question I ask, is there a balloon? May I see the wholesale contract between the seller and the wholesaler? Take everything that a wholesaler tells you with a grain of salt. I have had a situation, and I'm not making this up. The deal was so sweet. It was amazing. I thought it wasn't a home run. I thought it was a grand slam, like once in a lifetime type of deal. Zero interest, the deal, cash flowing. It was so beautiful. I knew something was up. I just felt it, right? Always trust your intuition. And I asked the wholesaler, is there a balloon? No, there's no balloon. I was like, are you sure there's no balloon? Because maybe there's a balloon? No, there's no balloon. Now what's crazy is I got stuck. I got fixated on this one question and I repeated it via text, via voice. I asked this question about 5 or 7 times. Is there a balloon on the deal? And I was told there's no balloon. So I said, okay, I'm ready to move on the deal. Show me the contract between you, Mr. Wholesaler, and the seller. Now, it gets tricky. A lot of wholesalers will not show it to you. Some will demand an EMD. Be careful with EMDs. I have another video that's being released any day now. Maybe by the time you're watching it, it has already been released. So I asked my team to put a link up or below the video somewhere. Put a link with regards to how to not lose your EMD. Getting back into it, I want to see the contract between the wholesaler and the seller. Very, very important. Here's why. So the gentleman, and I use that term extremely loosely, the wholesaler who said there's no balloon, I believe it was on page 9 or 11 of the contract, clearly says there's a balloon in 5 years. For me, this was a deal breaker for two reasons. One, the wholesaler lied through his teeth. So there's already a trust issue. He's either incompetent or he's a liar. Neither one of those is acceptable when doing business. So there was a balloon, and right away for me, I didn't want to do the deal. Okay, it didn't make sense. So you want to find this information out. First, you ask the wholesaler, then you demand or kindly request and insist on getting the contract, the seller and the wholesaler. That's going to paint a really clear picture. If they're withholding the contract, it's a red flag. And again, if they're demanding an EMD, I made a video dedicated to how not to lose your EMD deposit. Please watch that right after you watch this video. So let's keep it moving. Question number 6, is the property vacant? If it's not, will it be delivered vacant? Super important, because there could be a situation where the seller is living in the property. There could be a situation where the seller is renting the property. Who lives there? So let's run that back again. Is the property currently vacant? If not, who lives there? Is it the seller, or are they renting it out? And will it be delivered vacant? Now, you want to ask the wholesaler these questions, and then you want to make sure that the answer to these questions, is clearly written and stated in the contract between the seller and the wholesaler, A and B, and between the wholesaler and you, the B2C contract. Here's why. I'll give you a couple of examples from real deals that I've analyzed. If there is somebody living in the property and you're taking over their mortgage, but let's say they have a tenant living there and the tenant has a lease. Another important question, do they have a lease, or is it month to month? What's the situation? Let's say the tenant has a 1-year lease, 2-year lease, whatever it is. Just because you're the new owner of the property, in most states, you can't just evict them. There's a lease, right? So now you need to know, is the tenant problematic? You got to see the rent roll. The deal gets complicated. Look, there's pros and cons. I'm sorry, I'm going to digress a little because it's super important that you understand this. If you're acquiring a property with the idea of building out your real estate portfolio, LTR, MTR, whatever, you want to rent it out, right? Having a tenant in place can be a good thing if it's a good tenant. Pay on time, take care of the property if they're not problematic. It could also be a horrible. Maybe the tenant is all over the place. Some on time, some partial payments. That's another thing. Rent roll, bank statements, like you want to get proof of all this. So I, for one, do not like to inherit other people's problems. I don't like to inherit a tenant that I have personally not vetted. This is really kind of personal. You have to decide for yourself, but you got to ask the question first, right? Is the property currently vacant? If not, who lives there? Will it be delivered vacant? Do they have a lease? It's more than one question, right? Sorry. Is it month to month? These are all very important questions. All right, so number 7. Okay, I already mentioned that. It's about the tenant. Do they have a lease? If yes, send me their lease. Right, you want to get the lease as well. You want to read through the terms because you didn't make the lease, right? Again, you're inheriting somebody else's contractual obligations. You want to know what the heck they are. You also want to educate yourself in regards to the state, the county, the municipality, what their laws are, what the landlord, the tenant laws are. Again, I usually acquire properties exclusively in landlord-friendly states and counties, but it might be a landlord-friendly state, but the municipality might not be. You want to know all this ahead of time before jumping into the deal, because if you got a non-paying tenant and you're the new owner and you can't evict them, congratulations, you are now servicing that debt every month. You will hate your life. So all in all, if this is the only thing you take away from this whole video, remember, it's free to ask questions. It's expensive to make mistakes. Ask the questions. The next question I ask is the entry fee breakdown. So this is a systematic failure on the part of all wholesalers, and there's a reason they do this. Once you start seeing these deals, you'll always see an entry fee, right? how much money does it take to take down this deal? But the wholesalers don't give you the breakdown, so you never know how much is going to the assignment fee, how much is going to the seller, how much is going to pay off the arrears. You have to demand, you don't ask, you demand a breakdown of the entry fee, and some of the reasons might be, let's say you're inheriting a really high interest rate and there's a lot of arrears. So let's say you're getting a sub 2 property for over 4%, over 5%, and then you got 10, 15,000 in arrears, and the wholesaler's demanding a $20,000 assignment. That's not going to fly for me. No, if everything else is bad about the deal, the assignment fee has to be super low. So essentially what I'm telling you is you demand for the entry fee breakdown so that you as a potential buyer / investor understand which points are negotiable. Maybe there's too much money going to the seller. Like if you're paying off 15, 20K in arrears and the seller who has no equity in the deal is also asking for 10, 15K, that's too much. You got to walk them down to, I don't know, 1,000, maybe 2,000. You should give the seller something. You want to make sure they show up to closing, but you have to understand which points can be negotiated. The next question is, can I do a walkthrough of the property, or can I send somebody to do a walkthrough of the property, take photos and videos? Can I send an inspector if they don't have an inspection? Will he or she have unimpeded access to the property? Super important. Again, if there's a tenant, they might say no, and that's a red flag. I want to know the condition of the property for my underwriting, okay? Because 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be going to private money lenders. I need to paint a really clear picture of how much money we need to take this property down. So I need to understand the scope of work and rehab costs, right? The better the place looks, the more money I can collect in rent. So super important to understand. They might have several pictures, that might not be enough. So if I can't do a walkthrough, if I can't send an inspector, it's a red flag. I at the very least need somebody. Maybe the wholesaler, maybe the agent, maybe the seller. Somebody's got to do a walkthrough and send me a lot of pictures and a lot of videos. The next question, and I'm sorry, I keep looking to my computer because I have a lot of notes for this video. The next question is, are the appliances staying? Look, you may see some stainless steel appliances in the pictures of the kitchen, and they may be amazing. First of all, they may be photoshopped, they may not even be there. You want to understand, are the appliances there? Are they staying? Here's why it's important. A lot of times the seller will just gut the kitchen out. They will everything, even the sink. It gets crazy. So for me, it's important. If I see really nice appliances, they're stainless steel, they look good. Refrigerator, microwave, oven, dishwasher, sink. I want to know that these things are staying, right? Because now I don't have to go out of pocket. Flip side, they might look good and they may be in the pictures, but the seller wants to take them with him. So now this changes the whole underwriting process. Now I know, okay, I'm gonna have to go out of pocket, and stainless steel appliances for a kitchen, $3 to $5K easy. Now imagine your deal is only cash flowing $100 a month. Now you got to go out of pocket $5,000. That's crazy. So your cash flow for the next 4, 5, 6 years is gone. It's wiped off. And if you're doing the deal with the help of a PML, a private money lender or whatever, now you need more money than just the entry fee, the closing cost, the transactional coordinator fees. Now you have to outfit the kitchen with appliances. So look guys, that was about 10 talking points and questions that I personally go through. I probably missed a few. So my advice is, getting back to the appliances. Look, if the wholesaler says they're staying, that means nothing to me. Nothing, less than nothing. With all due respect, Mr. Wholesalers who are watching this, Mrs. Wholesalers, I am sorry. It means nothing to me. I wanted it in writing. This should be in the A to B contract and the B to C contract that said appliances are staying, if they're staying, okay? It has to be in the contract. Otherwise, it's not a deal. Also, this is a negotiable point. Look, if the wholesaler's having an issue selling this deal, but you want this deal, and part of the deal is that appliances are not staying, tell them, you know what? Look, I'll do the deal with you, but I need all the appliances in the kitchen to stay. Why not? Negotiate. Don't be afraid to negotiate. And guys, I got one more pro tip for you. Do this on every single call. I don't care who you talk to, the agent, the wholesaler, whomever you talk to, make sure you're recording the conversation. So I made this mistake several times and it could be really costly. I don't know if you need to inform them that you're recording or not. Be careful. It's a legal question. I can't advise you on that. I can simply tell you, I record all my calls, and maybe you need to get that setup going where you got the microphone, the laptop, the camera, whatever it is. You need a clear, at least audio recording of everything you're saying and all the questions that are being answered. You need to have everything recorded. First of all, it's going to help you learn. Second of all, if an issue comes up, you now have a recording. Another pro tip, I'm sorry, it's coming to me at the last second, is if the property is listed on Zillow or on the MLS, that's actually a very good thing for you. So for example, the seller might have tried to sell the property but couldn't, they don't have enough equity, whatever the thing is. This is important because if there is structural damage like foundation, leaky roof, whatever it is, the agent is still involved in the deal even though we're doing it creative finance via subject to. So the agent, even the wholesaler, they have an obligation to tell you if something is critically wrong with the state property. It doesn't mean they will, but by law, they're supposed to. So yes, record all your conversations, ask all these questions, and if I see that the property is on Zillow, pending contract, it means it's on the MLS. It means somebody is supposed to disclose to me everything that's wrong with the property. All right, guys, thank you very much for sticking around this long. I'll see you in the next one.